Hello everyone, welcome to another video learning session. As the introduction to this module explained, what we're talking about in this module is different methods that governments or communities can use to regulate their environmental resources. Now, the first type of system is the free market system, and many of you have probably heard of free market system before. The free market system is based on a concept of supply and demand. So the makers of a product have the supply of that product. The consumers provide the demand for the product. The price of the product is based both upon how much it costs to produce it and how much the consumer is willing to pay for it. In a truly free market system, there is no government regulation whatsoever, so it is entirely up to the producers and the consumers how products are made, marketed, and sold. Now, most governments that engage in a free market system, free market being a part of capitalism, like here in America, have some level of government intervention or government regulation. In regard to environmental concerns, that regulation will have to do with how much natural resources can be used up in the production of a product, and it may also relate to how much pollution can be created and emitted into the environment from the production of that product. So for example, let's say there's a cardboard factory. The cardboard factory needs input raw materials, and that's typically wood. So they're going to bring in the wood and convert it to cardboard. But in so doing, they create some chemical outputs. A lot of times those chemical outputs will go up through a chimney stack and emit those chemicals into the air. That cardboard factory is going to have to get a permit, assuming it's located here in America. They'll have to get a permit for how much pollution they are allowed to emit into the air. But the only element that regulates how much of that product they can produce is the consumer demand. As long as there's consumer demand for the product, they can continue cutting down trees and converting those trees into cardboard. So that's just one example of a free market system. Now, whatever type of free market system you're dealing with, one that is a true free market with no government regulation, or one with some level of government regulation, there's a real environmental concern that the resources will be overused, or that the pollution emitted will be so bad that it will cause serious detriment to water bodies and serious detriment to the quality of air in an area. We call this, or it's been coined at least, the tragedy of the commons. The concept of the tragedy of the commons is that in a true free market system, the suppliers of the product can use as much natural resource as they want, and they have no obligation to pay for that resource, no obligation to maintain that resource, and no obligation to renew that resource. Similarly, there is no restriction on how much pollutant they can put into the water or into the air. Hence the name, the tragedy of the commons. They're common resources, and therefore no one has final responsibility, and everyone can use them, overuse them, pollute them, degrade them, and eventually eliminate them altogether. All right, so that is, in a very, very short nutshell, the free market system. Our next video, which I'm gonna do a separate video on it, but our next video is very tied to this concept of the free market system. And what it is, it's sustainability practices in the free market system. So that'll be coming up next.